Hello and welcome to all of you astrology friends out there. Big hug to everyone who needs it today and receiving your hugs as well. Welcome to this very little video. And it's a bit of a weekly horoscope, you could say, because it's such an interesting week. And I thought, why not making a video about Mercury conjunct Uranus and explaining a little bit of Mars conjunct Chiron and Jupiter trine Pluto. If you want to know more about it for your specific sign, go and watch the other videos that I made, the monthly horoscope and the full moons and the new moons and so on. But this specifically is a bit of a message for this week, you could say, and how to deal with these energies and what are they? So Mercury conjoining with Uranus, that happens every year. It's not that rare. And it happens between, you could say, the 28th of May and the 30th of May. So it's a couple of days that we're going to have Mercury conjoining with Uranus. And that's always a very interesting day. Now, on Sunday, so around and about the 1st, the 2nd of June, you could say the 28th of May up until the 2nd of June, or the 3rd of June, we're going to have Jupiter trine Pluto. And that is a bit rarer, more rare, you could say. But it's one of, you could say, the most positive trines between big planets. Another thing that is all preceding this is Mars conjunct Chiron. And I've made, and definitely in the work that I do with people, who come to me and want to have a reading. I mean, via my website, you can order one if you want to. And you have all sorts of different readings available for you. But I'm a specialist in Chiron, you could say. Specialist, I call myself. Every astrologer has also their own chart, has also their own focus, and so on. And my specialty is definitely that Mars Chiron. Now, today as I speak, we're having the conjunction of Mars coming together with Chiron in Aries. And so this is just a couple of days. You might have felt this already around the 26th, 27th, 28th, 29th. You will feel it the rest of the week, but you could say you feel it the most today. So on the 29th of May, you're going to feel it the most. Now, what does it mean? I'm going to put a link at the end of the video of Mars conjunct Chiron, because I did a long time ago a whole video about that. But the bottom line is that Chiron is the wounded healer. And Chiron is about healing. And it is such a beautiful time now to heal. And that's why I'm making this video, because I want to spread that message that this is not a time of escape or freeze or fight, which is so easy to do with this energy. It's so easy to do, to go towards your fight or flight or freeze response during these days. Why? Because Mars is in Aries. It's a very reactive sign, Aries. It wants to have things out of the way immediately, actually rather yesterday. And it's now conjoining with the wounded healer with Chiron, which works a bit like, it's a bit like Saturn, but on a deeper level. So if you would say Saturn is the restrictor, Chiron is like the shame. It's even on an emotional negative level that is even deeper. That is awakened here. So what I'm trying to say here is that because Aries is such a visceral feeling sign of it's fire, and it's I don't know the other word, visceral. It's like an animal, the reaction is instinct was the word that I was looking for. So we all in our lives where you have that Aries in your chart, we're going to attract um, happenings, events, and whatnot, situations, people that are going to trigger us. Mars conjunct Chiron is a very vulnerable yet strong kind of position in a chart. It's like a blessing and a curse. So it's a vulnerability for sure, because it awakens the deep woundings in us, the woundings of our existence, because it's in Aries. So it's that wound of it's that typical wound of you're not seeing me. A typical wound in Aries is that I'm not good enough. I can't take place here because there's no space for me, right? What is another typical wound of Aries is that you want to act, but you can't act because you are in a freeze mode, for instance, or in a flight mode, or you're in a fight mode. Mars in Aries conjunct Chiron. So a lot of triggering is happening around this time. And what we usually do when we are not aware of it, people who are not aware of triggers and, they're living their lives, they're living in their heads, they're not living in their bodies. Aries is connected with the body for sure, for sure. And the body has an intelligence that goes sometimes beyond our reasoning. And vice versa. The body can demand to look at something, and that can happen with this Mars conjunct Chiron as well. So know that you might be triggered a little bit easier, again depending on your personal chart, of course. And also know that instead, when you're triggered, going in those fight and defensive responses, or going in, that bottle of alcohol or cigarettes, or work, the flight mode, or just freezing and not being able to be present in everything that's happening around you, instead of allowing your body to be in those states, allow yourself that, accept that trigger, and of course that demands strength, that demands a readiness. But I think when people are watching this video, and that's not by saying, hey, when you're watching my video you are better, no, but I think when you're watching a video like this, it means that you are ready to stand still, which is not going to be easy with all this Aries, because Aries wants to go, 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 but with standing still, not going in a rush, and just observe what's going on and why the things are triggering you. I'll give you a very simple example. When you are in your car, they say that whilst driving or in the traffic, that people have their fight and flight responses coming up very easily. So let's say you're driving and someone is really doing you, someone is doing something that you're not okay with. Let's put it that way. It's very easy then to go into fight mode and blah, 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 making things worse, and so on and so on. Or someone in the grocery store, you're waiting patiently, just like everybody is doing. That's a better example, by the way. As someone just goes in front of you, you're not really in a hurry, but you're waiting, and someone just, those people, like, they have no time and they're just not even apologizing. They just go for you, right? They just go for you, and that, you feel that you're triggered. Instead of course, dealing with this issue in a reactive manner, like getting angry and making it out of proportion and whatnot, looking at it in a deeper way, looking at it, why you're so angry, because why is it making you so angry? Because below the angriness, and I'm talking about anger a lot now because Aries is all about that, but below that level of angriness, there's a deeper level. It's I'm reading a book now of Els van der Steen, and I think it's translated. It's about family systems and whatnot. And she's talking also about this secondary and primary emotions. So secondary emotions, you know, they are there, but it's not solving anything. It's not healing anything. It is covering up, that secondary emotion is covering up a primary emotion. And when you're touching that and looking at that and feeling that, that is going to heal you. And that is the interesting thing. Of course, I'm not saying now when you're standing there and you're getting angry and all of that, and you're having to look at your primary emotion. No. But at night, when you're alone, for instance, or at a place where you feel safe, or with someone else, what you're talking about this, that what is the deeper primary emotion that is covered by this anger? And you will see, because now at this particular time, we're having this Mars conjunct Chiron in Aries, it will have to do with that I'm not seen. You know, that old childhood wound. Yes, I go back to the first connections, which are the connections with our parents, with siblings. You know, we are so much more, family is so important in that respect, where those primary emotions, they were not felt, or you have to push them down because maybe in your family you can't get angry because, that's not decent. And I'm starting to talk very British now. I don't know why. But or people, when they were angry, a parent maybe went to the first cafe, or they freeze, nothing is happening. You see, that underlying emotion of I'm not seen, someone is just passing here, and it's that wounding actually that's triggered, and that can give you a reaction that is out of proportion. Instead of saying, hey, excuse me, everyone has to wait, and doing that in a calm way, you're probably going to react and explode a little bit. I'm giving that example. Of course, there's thousands of examples here. So with this energy, don't be fooled by the trigger, right? Embrace that trigger, accept that trigger, welcome it. Welcome it, maybe accept it. Let's put it that way. Welcoming it is when you really, really feel like you can conquer the world. But anyway, accept the trigger instead of pushing the trigger down, and go and look to that primary emotion. Which is often like you've not been seen, you've not been taken care of, you're not being looked after in a way, or whatever it is for you. So, and let the feelings that come up in your body, again, I refer to the body now because it's Aries. Aries relates to the body. And, it's the first house, which is your embodiment of the soul. And so you can feel those feelings, first angry, and then you go towards grief and sadness that can come up because you haven't felt those feelings that you were supposed to feel as a little child. But maybe as a little child, you could not feel, or you had to block those feelings in your body. So it's about feeling it again by the trigger is like a sort of a helper that it kind of that's why I'm saying it's better to accept the triggers than to run away from them. Again, you have to be ready for it, and you have to be able to face it and feeling safe to do that. And when you're doing that, you're going to have those emotional moments in a couple of seconds or maybe a couple of minutes. And that, whether it is crying or shouting or whatever, but it's going to be a cleanup. And that's the purification. That is definitely, it's a cleanup. I can't put it in other words. And then a little part of your soul is going to be healed. So I say a little part, maybe a big part for others, maybe a little part, because I think that at the end of our lives, up until the end of our lives, we're healing. We're constantly healing. And especially we're constantly having triggers in our lives as an invitation to heal. Okay, so that was the Mars Chiron. And I hope that wasn't too, I don't want to be too deep into, we're in Gemini time. I definitely don't want to get too serious and depressive. It's actually very beautiful, but it demands consciousness and it demands understanding. And I hope I can help a little bit with that. Anyway, another thing that is very important is that Mercury Uranus, because after this healing period, and I hope everyone for you are looking at the wounds and healing, because it's only by going through the pain that you heal it. You can't heal a wound by just going into the other states. Now, after that period of Mars conjunct Chiron comes Mercury conjunct Uranus, which is the epiphany, which is the breakthrough, which is, Mercury conjunct Uranus, if a person has that in their chart, they're a bit like a genius in some area of their life. They have those epiphanies, they think in a different way, they think out of the box, they are a bit avant la lettre. It is a bit chaotic though. It can be like it comes out of the blue and or out of nowhere, that insight, but we're gonna have that. And that's a beautiful thing on one side. On the other side, it's a bit unsettling as well because it stays Uranus. Mercury with Uranus is because Mercury is the ruler of Gemini and Virgo, and it is conjoining with Uranus, the planet of independence, the planet of breakthroughs, the planet of you going your own way and change, the planet of quick change, basically. It can be a bit unsettling. So is that bad? No, but it's good to know so that you can ground yourself a little bit more than usual. What do I mean by that? Because Mercury is the messenger. Uranus is quick, so we can get messages, information can come to us that is really a bit shocking even, and that we didn't expect it, or we can do that with others. We can, through our speech, through what we say, we can wake up people. I hope I'm doing this with this little video. But the thing is, it can be a bit shocking. But again, after the better we do the work with the Mars Chiron, the better we are going to be able to ground ourselves with this information. And the information is good and it's freeing in the end. But it can be, as I said, a bit unsettling. And what can you do? Grounding. What do I mean by grounding? That is making sure that, those things that Taurus loves to do, which is good food, have a nice rest, sleep, a massage if you can. Of course, it all has to be possible, but if you can do that, do. Do the things that are very grounding, going in nature, all that thing after the breakthrough of that information, there will be also, it's a very nervous energy. Mercury conjunct Uranus is very nervous energy. And again, with Mars in Aries, you could feel that in the body as well. Now, the moon then will be with Saturn. So the moon is going to be with Saturn, which means that although emotions flow, because moon will be in Pisces, they can go a little bit stiff because of Saturn there. But then moon goes towards Neptune and it's the opposite. It can flow again. So our mood is going to be a little bit like this, up and down, maybe first a little bit more towards silentness and stiffness, and then more fluently. So to help that process, it's literally standing still to what's happening and not reacting immediately, and then let it flow by, having a good conversation, taking a nice bath, taking a nice walk with the dog or with some friends or whatever is. So But there's going to be a lot of epiphanies. There's going to be a lot of breakthroughs. And also what I want to say to you is that with that Mercury conjunct Uranus, be open for that information and see it as, instead of being anxious of it, see it as exciting. Because exciting is a bit like fear, but it's with a positive mentality. So be open for that fresh news and know that what's coming is the best for you and everyone involved. I think that is also a very important one. And then, le moment suprême, Jupiter trining Pluto. It's like a beautiful story that ends with a very powerful being empowered, feeling strong, feeling that you've gone through fears and that you've succeeded without being too dramatic, without you having lost a lot of your energy, power, whatever. And that's the trine between Jupiter and Pluto. So Jupiter is the planet of purpose. It's in Gemini, talk, communicate, insights, whatnot, moving a lot. And it's going to trine Pluto in Aquarius. So on a social level, it means that going with like-minded people, talking to like-minded people, but first and foremost, it's about the empowerment of purpose. Jupiter is the planet of purpose. It's the wise planet, planet of wisdom. It's a spiritual planet. And with the trine to Pluto, Sagittarians, by the way, and Pisceans are going to feel this the most. They're going to have really around Saturday, Sunday, that feeling that of empowerment for sure, because Jupiter is their ruler. But we're all going to feel that in a certain area of our life where we're going to have that empowerment, where we're going to feel that, yeah, it's purposeful. And it's not so unsettling with that Pluto, because Pluto is about death and rebirth. So we're going to have some purposeful deaths and rebirths, but not in an unsettling way. That is a trine. The trine means that it's sitting there already so long and it's so fluently. And we did actually the preparation work, the hard work before that. And then we get that super big growth. Jupiter and Pluto together, they are all about growth. They're all about expansion, but solid one. Even it's in air signs, but Pluto is a planet that there's no way back. Once you're transformed. You have more authenticity than ever, and off you go. So ultimately, I think a very beautiful week, a very meaningful week. And I wanted to make that extra video because of that and to explain it a little bit more. Anyway, all the best to you. And thank you so much for listening. Get a reading if you want to. Spread the message if you want to. Comment if you want to. I read them all. And many, many thanks for listening. Thank you. Bye-bye.